From the Vatican, a new pope has been picked. Joining us right now is Thomas Groome, a professor of theology and religious education at Boston College. Go Eagles. I'd like to start with asking you your thoughts on the selection of an American as the next pope, Professor.
Well, I wish he'd come to Boston College rather than Villanova. So let's get that out of the way. I think he's a marvelous selection. And when I think back over it, if I had done my homework properly, I probably would have picked him because it's afterwards you say, yeah, that's obvious. Francis had moved him to all kinds of significant positions, like, for example, put him in charge of choosing the bishops of the world, the new bishops, which is one of the most powerful functions in the life of the church, to pick the new leadership. And he'd been doing that for years. And one of the first things he did when Francis put him in charge of choosing bishops was he added 3 women to that congregation. Now, we could well say it should be 50 women, or half of them should be women, but at least it was a step in the right direction. And so that was one aspect of it. And then he was a tremendous outreach into the third world. He had all the languages. He's an Augustinian. The Augustinians elected him twice as their superior general or their head of their congregation, which showed the confidence they had in him. Pope Francis put him in charge of the commission for synodality throughout the Latin American church. So Francis moved him to all kinds of prominent positions where he did very well. And in a sense, it came to the attention of his brother cardinals and so on. And yeah, and so in some ways, I'm not surprised that it was a rather short conclave.
Well, it was said a few times today, even on our coverage here on NBC News, that, you know, an American was never expected to become pope because America was already too powerful of a country to be given the honor of the papacy.
But I don't think he's quite an American, the same as if they appointed the Archbishop of Boston or Chicago or someplace. I mean, he's lived most of his life outside of the country in Peru and has Peruvian citizenship. So he's not quite the typical American, as it were. He's been gone from this country for most of his life. So he happened to be born and raised in Chicago, but then that's it. He left and went off and became an Augustinian, and then they sent him to all over to Peru and other missions as well, et cetera, et cetera.
So he's the right person for the job, considering, for a number of reasons, but also considering that Catholics from multiple parts of the world are able to sort of take part in his legacy.
And exactly, and to be inspired by him. And one of the nicest aspects of him is the name he chose. I'll just explain that briefly. He took the name of why am I blanking?
Leo.
Leo.
Yeah.
Leo XIV. Now, Leo XIII was one of the greatest popes in the history of the Catholic Church on behalf of social justice.
Right.
In 1891, Leo XIII offered a famous encyclical called Rerum Novarum, of new things, and it really established social justice. Like the church had always had throughout its whole history an emphasis on compassion, on helping the downtrodden, the poor, and so on. But so the commitment to social justice moved beyond that. Instead of just feeding hungry people, that you ask, why are they hungry in the first place? Or what are the social political structures that are causing them to be hungry, or whatever the issue might be? So Leo got that very much established in our Catholic consciousness, social justice. So it's interesting that this good man has now taken the name of Leo XIV, announcing to the world that he fully intends to continue Pope Leo the Great, Pope Leo's commitment to the poor and to justice, to social justice.
Thomas Groome, professor of theology and religious education at Boston College. Once again, go Eagles. As always, thank you.
Thank you so much. Take care.